guys, welcome to Real Life School Podcast, and today you are in for it, okay? I brought my family along, my beautiful wife, Hannah, my son, Ace, and we are going to talk about being a military spouse, moving multiple times during PCS season, deployment life, and also what it's like to have your first child wearing the uniform, okay? So I know we got some incredible stories, and I know you guys are going to just dig what we're going to be talking about today. And finally, babe, you got the microphone, you got the camera to be able to talk about it. So look forward to seeing you guys throughout the podcast and many clips. But so let's dive into it, okay? First and foremost, we've been married for many years. It feels like forever.
700.
It does.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's mutual. But let's talk about when we first met. We were living in Hawaii, stationed there for 4 years. And then we got orders. Marine Corps was like, hey, man, you got orders. You want to continue flying? I was like, heck yeah. So I came home and I was like, hey, babe, we got orders. Mm-hmm. How did that go down?
Well, actually, I wasn't living in Hawaii.
Okay.
I moved from Alabama to Hawaii.
Yeah, that's right.
And then we had this conversation.
Yeah.
So I already made a few sacrifices. So I said, we did not get orders. You got orders. I'm not in the Marine Corps.
We got orders. And you said, no,
you got orders.
You got orders.
Right.
And how did that go down? What did I have to do?
I said, hey, put a ring on it. I'm not moving again. So show me that rock and I'll move.
Oh, gosh. I didn't show you a rock. We got those like packages of $7 rings.
Yeah, we did.
The
we
rubber
had
ones.
Rubber rings. I was fine with it.
Yeah.
I was fine with it.
Okay. So tell them the story about how we moved from Hawaii to North Carolina. So we got orders, talked me into, bullied me into getting married. I knew we were going to get married anyways.
Right.
I just didn't want to do it right then and there because I just figured I could have time on my hands. I know many of you single men are dating. There's a lot of you guys will be dating these women for 10 years and then not have the commitment. And you're like, oh, I don't have to get married because you're not putting pressure. That didn't happen with this one.
No, we don't always get what we want, right?
We don't always get what we want, do we, baby?
No, we don't.
Okay. Fast forward. We sell the condo. We get orders in North Carolina. And what happened then? We bought that place on the golf course, Green Tea. And
I think what you're referring to is how you packed up the entire apartment in Hawaii.
We had to move.
And then you just left. You went on some 3-week training, and I was stuck in Hawaii, Alabama girl,
Could
with
be worse.
A blow-up air mattress and no TV even. So I think that's when I got real cozy with the Audible books. There wasn't much to do other than obviously the beach, but
but we moved into a vacation rental.
Yes.
And it was right in Waikiki. It was fantastic.
Yes, that was fun.
Yes. And then we moved to North Carolina. So all of our stuff was in a pod. I packed it up in a pod.
Floating across the ocean.
And then the property that we had purchased, I had demoed. So as soon as I showed up, within 10 days, I could install flooring, bathroom, kitchen, all that stuff. So when you showed up, how'd that go down?
Well, again, you weren't there.
Okay. Where was I?
I think you were getting a massage, actually.
Was I?
Yeah, you were in Honolulu getting a massage, and I was, again, in a different state, but still sleeping on a blow-up air mattress. No floors. I knew that we were doing some renovations, but I just didn't know what that meant.
You didn't know what that was
I didn't
to
know
walk
it was
into.
down to the subfloors. And then...
What are subfloors real quick?
Not the floors. I don't know. I still don't know. That's
okay for you guys. So we sold the condo, we bought a new house, and my goal was obviously for all of you that move in PCS, you have 10 days to house hunt. Well, I'd already house hunted. I took leave to do it. And then I had somebody demo the house. So all I could do is show up. And when I got to North Carolina, I could just start installing ASAP right away. So I sent her early to North Carolina to receive our pod while I was still working in Hawaii until my release date, and then I flew to North Carolina. Yeah, we came in waves. So that transition from moving, you had no experience
No.
unmoving before. Not only that, but you didn't have any expectations up front, because I wasn't able to relay to you like, hey, Hannah, this is what it's like when you do a remodel.
Yeah, it was just get over it.
Yeah, I could have probably said, hey, honey, this is really what it's going to look like when you show up, and it's going to have some sawdust. It's going to be kind of
So maybe
dirty.
bring some cleaning supplies.
That's probably some good
Yeah,
stuff.
because I didn't have that.
Yeah.
It's okay. We live to tell the tale.
That's true. Okay, real quick. I have a incredible person here who sponsored the podcast, Limitless Healing with Colette Brown, and she wants to talk about real quick inflammation, which is ironic for moving and doing remodels and all that stuff. So, hey, Colette, are you there?
Hey, Tyler. Thank you so much for having me back. Here's tip number 2, inflammation. It is the root of all disease. And how do we control it? It's quite easy, but you need to be mindful. So we can do things like exercise and breathing and help to reduce that cortisol. And the other thing that we need to do is look at our diets. And one important factor is the omega-3 to omega-6 ratio. We should be eating a 3 omega-6 to 1 omega-3 ratio or less. Most Americans are eating 25 to 30 omega-6 to 1 omega-3, and this can create severe inflammation. So be mindful of what you're eating. Get more omega-3s, which are in fatty fishes like sardines and salmon. And you can also get them from seeds like flaxseed and chia seed. And you can also do great supplementation. Omega-6 is in everything, grains and nuts. So be really mindful. Do a little deep diving into how you can help reduce your inflammation from diet.
Hey, Colette, that was awesome. Thank you for that clip. And yeah, I mean, it goes hand in hand. When we were moving and doing the remodel, I mean, I was on the floor for days installing that floor throughout that house.
Right.
So that's fitting. Okay, let's talk about work-life balance.
Oh, okay.
Okay, work-life balance. We moved from Hawaii, showed up to North Carolina, just did the remodel, and oh, by the way, I was about to deploy or cut and chop to the Mew. So right off the bat, within 2-3 months, renovated, chopped to the Mew, and then we had Hurricane Florence that came through and ripped our lives apart.
That's
about
right.
60 days before we actually floated out
That's right.
across the ocean.
Mm-hmm.
So, any work-life balance lessons learned as a newly married spouse, hadn't been really truly exposed for many years on deployment schedule? What would you advise some of these other spouses?
Well, I think the reason it is hard to be a military spouse is because you don't have your family, and you're typically in a city or maybe even state that you don't know too well. So I would just advise right from the jump, start looking for your family.
Yeah.
And I think that's why, the military spouses, it's almost like once you're friends with them, you're just friends with them for
forever.
Life.
Yeah.
Because they become your family. They kind of have to. Your husband's not there a lot. I always joke that I lived in North Carolina. You didn't really. I mean, you really didn't. And I had to show you, hey, this is like a good place to eat, or this is a good place to go get a drink. But, you need someone if you're sick. You need someone if you have an appointment and you need someone to drive you, or just, if you're having a bad day, you don't have your family there.
Yeah.
So you have to have a family, a tribe, something. So, right away I would get started on that.
So as soon as we moved, I knew that you were getting plugged into all the military spouses. We called it the Wives Club, and a bunch of us in the squadron were like, ugh, the Wives Club. But hindsight, looking back on it many years later, it's like, you said it, babe. Like, you didn't have any family there. You didn't have any new friends. You stay in long enough in the military, you basically recycle, and you do come back to the original people that you served with.
Sure, but that takes a minute. And
it takes
it never
5,
really
10, 15 years.
With me.
And it didn't. Yeah, because you came in late. But so trying to find your people, not to mention, and this is really for a lot of the new military spouses that are out there that are looking to have kids. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's fast forward to the time where we came back from deployment and we decided to have a family. That deployment was rough, by the way.
Yeah, anyone who knows us knows we did not do that well.
No.
So
We probably we didn't fail because we're still married, but it was close.
it was a close one.
It was a close one.
Right.
You could do better.
Yeah. Again, I wasn't fully prepared for that. And I think they give you a lot of classes about what to expect and how to get ready for those deployments. But it's like a pride thing, and I
Sure.
think a lot of people don't want to go to those classes, and they're like, oh, I'm not a teenager. I know how to live my life.
Sure.
But yeah, I would just, go to all those classes, get all your ducks in a row as far as we're really traditional, and you make sure the bills are paid.
And we're back again.
Probably should pay for a babysitter next time.
That's a lesson learned of podcasting. You should probably just pay for a babysitter.
Yeah, just
So,
do it.
Yeah, sure. So, fast forward to when we were having kids.
Yes.
So, healthcare inside the military is fantastic. When you get out
Yes.
as a civilian, it sucks.
Yeah.
It sucks and it's super expensive. So, lessons learned for military spouses and having their first child.
Again, don't count on the husband to be there
Okay.
necessarily. I
Fair.
know a lot of women. I was lucky because you were there for both. But a lot of my friends' husbands missed the birth.
Yeah.
Missed most of the appointments, So I guess it's just about having expectations and plan B in place.
Plan B in
And
place.
again, your friends. Like, you need your friends, those military spouses. I have a friend who, Alana and Amanda. Amanda was with Alana instead of her husband during that, and so obviously they have a really close bond. But yeah, you've got to have your tribe. What else to expect? The second time was harder than the first time because when you have your first one, who's going to watch the first one while you're in the hospital having the second one?
Right.
So either, you need a family member to come up ahead of time. We were lucky enough that my mom was able to do that. And then, we had some backup people on the list to call if she wasn't. I can't stress the community thing enough.
Yeah.
That's just how you survive it.
Yeah, it's pretty difficult. You don't recognize military is mostly made up of men, right? So
Right.
when you're wearing the uniform, it's like, hey, I got a mission, I got a job, and depending on your MOS, some are more intense, some requires a lot more attention to detail. The combat arms, vice, an administrative role, it requires a different mentality. And for you guys that are out there in the combat arms, start prioritizing because you can tell, some of the baggage or some of the stories or some of those moments carries with you throughout the years. And having your firstborn and your a family inside the military, yes, you have a job to do, but also when that uniform is going to come off. Right? And we still
no regrets.
Yeah,
you don't want to live with regrets.
we still battle through, 7 years ago when we were, starting, moving, having babies, and some of those stuff still come up because
how it went down, how it should have gone down.
Right. Expectation management. So for you
Yes.
guys up front, you are a husband first, and then you are a father second, and then you wear that uniform. Because long term, that uniform is going to come off. And if I had done it over again, I would have changed my priorities just a little bit
It's hard
in
to
terms of the
remember
time.
that.
It is, of course. But I mean, some people would argue and they'd probably take this out of the wrong context, like flying helicopters at night, fully loaded, close to the ground, and you're teaching. Like, I didn't have the mentality to slow it down and say, hey, be a good husband, be a good father. I was concerned on check my gauges, make sure that this person, I got to train them, make sure that
Yeah.
they're not going to, make sure that I get us both home
Yeah.
safe.
And I haven't been on that side of it, but if you live with your priorities in the right order,
Yeah,
it's hard to follow that, but you won't regret that.
sure.
You
Of course.
won't
Long term.
regret.
Long term. I guess we don't have it all figured out, but I mean,
No.
you got to be able to, there would be times where I come home from the squadron and I couldn't turn it off, right? I
Right.
couldn't, I'd be on edge. I'd be quick. I'd be,
Barking orders.
I'd be barking orders because it's like I was stuck in that time zone. Like, I don't have time to deal with this fluff. I don't have time to deal with, negotiating with my 6-month-old or my 1.5-year-old. It's like, no,
Right.
get over here now, bath, bed now, right?
Right.
But, I think that's why we have some grace as parents. They don't really remember the first 3 years. So thank you, Lord,
Yes,
for that.
was designed perfectly.
Yeah, it was. So, hey, I got another quick tip. Hey, Limitless Healing with Colette Brown. She has just a quick tip for us again on sleep.
Hey, Tyler, thank you so much for having me back. Here's tip number 3, sleep. We need to get between 7 and 9 hours. There's so many ways to accomplish this because so many people suffer from lack of sleep. Number 1, make sure that you're sleeping in a cool environment. I like to be at about 65 to 68 degrees when I sleep. Number 2, limit light exposure 2 to 3 hours before bedtime. And in the morning, make sure that you're looking out into the light for about 15 to 20 minutes to help reset that circadian rhythm. Number 3, avoid alcohol or caffeine. If you're drinking it and you're having issues sleeping, this could be the cause. Number 4, create a relaxing sleep environment. Make sure that your room is free of screens, that the lights are all covered up so that you're sleeping in a dark environment. And remember, most importantly, save hard conversations with your partner until the morning. The nighttime is usually not the best time. We're not thinking so strongly. So, those are a few tips. I hope that they help you get a better night's rest.
Hey, Colette, that was awesome feedback. That was awesome information. Sleep for us has been, gosh, a major learning curve and also part of our life in terms of how do we get our kids
Yeah.
to sleep through the night, and when they sleep through the night or don't sleep through the night, how do you rebalance your day the following day? How do you do that?
The next day?
Yep.
Oh man, get a plan for how the next night can go better.
Sure.
I
So
mean, but-
sleep cycles, right?
Right.
So how did you do that with our firstborn?
Well,
Lily?
again, it's about expectations. So I have a friend who just had a baby, and she said she's looking forward to a sleep schedule.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to be negative,
over
but she's got a ways to go. It's just not something that you can expect at 1 month, even 2 months.
Hey, podcasting with kids, don't recommend it. Okay. If there's a sponsor out there that wants to sponsor babysitting, this would be the time to
Yeah, really.
babysitting sponsor right now.
Yeah.
Hey, we've had multiple cuts here. My son is a 1.5 years, and we're trying to do a podcast here. And this is the challenges, right? It doesn't matter if you're in the military or you work a corporate job. Like, I know, son, I'm trying to do the best that I can. You know what I'm saying?
This is also why God makes them cute.
That is so true.
So you don't
because if they weren't cute,
Put a
it'd be
for sale sign on them.
Yeah. By the way, this one's not for sale, despite him. Be a good boy. Hey. I want you to go down there and play, okay? Can you do that? Can you go down there and play? Okay. So, sleep cycle.
Yes.
Okay. How did you do it with Lily? Because I knew the first 6 months.
So again, the first at least 1 to 2 months, I don't even worry about a schedule. Those are unrealistic expectations when they're that little.
Okay.
But there came a point, and I feel like as a mom, you just know when they're ready for some sleep training.
Yeah.
And there's all kinds of different sleep training methods you can use. And I used Moms on Call. There's also Taking Care of Babies. There's, a lot of avenues you could take. I did the cried out method.
Oh yeah. We couldn't live. We're like, hey, no way.
Well, and she just, there's a method where you go in there and soothe them without picking them up. But that just made her more mad. And
Sure.
so we just did the cried out thing. I know a lot of people who say they don't want to do that, can't do that, and that's okay. But for me, my priority was just getting my life back.
Yeah.
And without the sleep, I just don't. I'm not. I'm not well.
Hey,
I am not well.
You know what? If there's a takeaway from this podcast, yeah, moving sucks, deployment sucks. It is hard, but let's focus on that first time that we looked at each other and we had a weekend and we're like, we are going to break our child and they are going to figure it out.
Yeah.
And the steps that we talked about in the bed at
they're
like
not
2 o'clock,
abandoned.
they're not hungry. They have a clean diaper. They're not cold. They're not hot. And nobody's hurting them.
Yeah.
Right. Nobody. So that was our requirements. We could, I mean, I slept like a baby.
I mean, it's hard, but especially for a mom, because there's just something in you like, I have to fix what is wrong. But I mean, we had to look at each other that whole night and just be like, let's go through the list.
Yep.
We didn't abandon her.
Nope.
She's not hot. She's not cold. She's not hungry. You know, all these things.
Yeah.
And it was 3 or 4 days of really, it was
Screaming.
hard. Yeah. Like someone was sawing off her arm.
Screaming. And you know what? They don't know. They're emotional. They're raw.
Right.
There's no baseline. They just know that, when I scream, mom and dad always show up. But for you parents, new parents, and I know you, Hannah, like your sleep was critical, and it is critical, right? We know that. So how do you do it? You stick to your guns. You make sure they're old enough, right?
Yeah,
so,
she was about 5 months old. That was the other thing.
Exactly.
And you just kind of know. I always knew with both of mine if they were ready, because, you go in there to nurse and they fall asleep within 20 seconds. And there was one night where she woke me up every other hour just to do that. Yeah. Just to nurse for 20 seconds and fall asleep. And I was just like, oh, no, girlfriend.
No, we're not doing this. Tomorrow night, you ain't going to fool me once. Yeah. Shame on you. Fool me twice. Shame on me.
Yes, it's been a good ride.
Yeah. And you're going to scream.
And she
guess
did,
what?
and it's hard.
Yeah.
But we got through it.
We did.
We got our lives back, and she
Sure
was the best sleeper after that. And the nap thing, it starts to pan out right around 6 months, and those get a little more predictable.
Right.
And but another thing is, it's okay if they cry a little bit. No one really ever told me that. No one told me it's okay if she cries for a little bit.
Heck yeah.
And I think probably he was a much better sleeper than she was, and it was probably a lot because of me. Yeah. Because I didn't get up and jump to fix whatever it was, immediately.
Right.
So yeah, he was a better sleeper, and so I didn't do the sleep training until maybe 8 months with him, because he didn't wake me up that much.
Okay, hey, lesson learned, and for all of you, like being a parent is tough. Being a parent in the military is even tougher. Yeah. Being a parent in the military and then deploying is hard.
I did not do that. Praise Jesus.
Is hard.
Yeah, I didn't do that.
Okay, so we know that you guys are dealing with all this stuff. Nobody wants to talk about it, but just kind of a recap here. Like, find somebody that you can go through battle with. I'm talking about my spouse, right? Like we had times where it was like, listen, we have to communicate. We have to talk about this. And, the stress, the kids, the finances, the deployments, the moving, it is not easy.
No, but they have resources for when it does get nitty gritty.
And we used them.
Military One Source.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
Really, really awesome.
It's free. They have all these resources, and they're free. And that's why they're free. Yeah. Because they know that it's really, really needed.
There's a demand there.
And why be embarrassed to use it?
No, not at all.
So,
we hope that this podcast was useful. You got some entertainment here. We got my son, Ace. He's a year and a half.
Acting like his dad.
Ooh, that was cold, honey. That was cold, man.
You know I had to say it.
I know you did. How'd it feel?
Oh, felt really good.
Did it?
Oh, yeah.
So also, we just had a pop-up question. How many times have you hit the house or a gym with the vehicle? It's weird how that random question came up.
Maybe just 2.
Oh, you did? What about the most recent time?
I just did a little bump. Just a little
bump?
Just a little touch.
You mean on what?
Your gym? Or is
the
that what
gym,
you're talking about?
The gym that is like 350 pounds anchored to the ground with, about 225 pounds on the bench. You bumped it?
I thought you wanted it moved just like 3 inches that way.
My wife hit my gym equipment in the garage with our Toyota Sequoia. Mm-hmm. And I go into the garage this morning, knowing the answer already, because I'm sure my 1.5-year-old son didn't move, 600 pounds. And I said, honey, did you hit the gym? She goes, no, I just bumped it. Are you out of your mind? You find it funny. I don't.
I do. Hey, it was better than the last time, right?
Yeah, you hit the house.
Yeah.
It's like you get made fun of.
No, I bumped the house.
No, you hit the house, honey. I mean, the house doesn't move, right? How do you hit something? It's like hitting a parked car. I don't know how you do it. More for podcasts on that, but thank you for joining me. I know there's some PTSD there on the moving and the renovations.
Oh, yeah. We just really scratched the surface.
We totally did.
Yeah.
Yeah. But sleep cycles, like let your kids scream it out, but criteria, they're not hungry. They have a clean diaper. They're not hot nor cold.
Well, that's what
and they're
we did,
safe.
And it worked.
So
within
it
4
worked
days.
for us, and we hope that we can be an example for you guys. Stay tuned for another episode. But for today, episode wouldn't be made possible, of course, if my wife wasn't willing to get on camera and throw some jabs at me. Thanks, babe. And then Limitless Healing with Colette Brown. Thank you for popping in and sharing those tips with us. And then great project. It's called the Home of Record Project. Group of guys and me have teamed up to get these vets into a real estate, home or condo or an apartment complex. An incredible project. I'm helping them out with their finances, get them on track, and then they are providing the place for them to live. It's called the Home of Record Project for all of you vets that need, when you get out and maybe need a helping hand. Incredible sponsor. Diligent Entertainment, thank you for the podcast studio here. And once and for all, Real Life School, I believe in bringing back the American dream, a job that you love, a place that you can call home, and some money in your pocket. And that's what I stand for. So we look forward to seeing you guys. You can see the podcast at reallifeschool.com, and you'll see all the snippets on social media. Stay tuned, and thank you all. Bye.